Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, hi guys, Ezra here. How you doing? We're just going gangbusters. I can't even believe how much stuff we're doing. We're sending a team. I think I'm right when I say there's 7 people going to Montreal this weekend because Montreal seems to me to be the place with the worst policing in the country now. That honor or dishonor was held by Toronto. We're suing the Toronto police because of it, actually. We are suing 10 or 11 different police officers plus the force itself for assaulting our reporters. And I think they've pulled in their claws a bit. We're still suing, obviously. As you know, we're suing in the Australian jurisdiction of Victoria because they've assaulted our reporter down there, Avi Yamini. We're suing the York Regional Police for assaulting David Menzies a couple years ago. We're not afraid to sue police. In fact, we think it probably should be done more often because police are a source of violence, and much of the time that violence is lawful. They're using justifiable violence to deal with a criminal. I mean, if you shoot a bank robber, that is violence, but that's lawful violence used carefully and thoughtfully in accordance with the law. But I believe police are too quick to violence during the pandemic, and they use violence in nonviolent situations. They escalate situations deliberately, and their physical interactions with our reporters is completely unacceptable. So we're suing the police in the jurisdictions I've described, and we have been engaged with the police in Montreal, whose acronym is SPVM, and I can't remember exactly what that stands. Something Police Ville de Montreal or something, but they go by SPVM. And we have sent several legal warning letters to them, and our reporters carry these warning letters with them along with other paperwork. And the SPVM just don't seem to care. And in my view, they may well need to be taken to court to have a judge tell them, no, you can't harass people, you can't physically assault people. I don't think they've assaulted our people yet, although they have made physical contact, but I wouldn't say it's grievous enough to sue for assault. But I will sue every policeman in Montreal, if necessary, to get them to stop harassing our reporters. How about just let our reporters do our job? And I say all this because we have an amazing documentary that we're about to release. Have we released it yet? Have we released the... I hear from Justin that we just finished the final touches on it. I watched the 4th edit last night. It's about 20 minutes long or 15 minutes long. It's cinematic in quality and style, and it's about the curfew, the lockdown pandemic curfew in Montreal. I think Montreal is the only city in North America that has a lockdown curfew. That's how little they think of their own people. They treat adults like children. They treat healthy people like sick people. They treat innocent people like criminals. And that's just shocking. Even more shocking is the general obedience to it. Yes, Master. I'm deeply embarrassed for the people of Quebec that they have accepted a curfew like their children. In fact, if you believe polls, they love it. They love it. Not everyone, of course. There is a legal exemption in the curfew for journalists. We know this because we checked with the police and we checked with the government, and we have it in writing. And even if it wasn't in writing, we know that the Constitution protects freedom of speech, no matter what some pompous health tyrant says. That said, our reporters have been ticketed constantly out there. Between all our reporters, I think we're probably coming up on $20,000 worth of fines, would you say? Like Yankee, like they got 6,000 in one night, right? Yeah. I think Yankee said he was stopped 15 times, and that number's like a week old. So he's probably been stopped. I think he's been stopped 17 times by police. They know him now. I think we played the clip of them calling him the Jew media, right? Now he is Jewish and he is with the media, but I just don't like to hear police all year with the Jew media. Well, Rebel Media, I am a Jew, but I look around our office and we have people of every background, and in fact, on camera, our talent, as we say, Sheila Gunn-Reid, Drea Humphrey, Mary Ugolini, David Menzies, Kian Bexty. I'm not going to go through everybody. Andrew Chapados. The only, Avi Amini's Jewish in Australia, and I am, but we're not particularly Jewish in our content or our character. In fact, I think we do a lot of reporting on Christian issues. So to call us the Jew media is a little creepy, I think. I don't know, maybe something else was meant by it, but when Yankee asked her her name, she quickly ran away from him. I think that the police in Montreal are in the worst of all worlds. I think, like most police, they're not properly trained for the pandemic. I think it's bringing out any authoritarian instincts within them. And I think they've been doing it for a year and no one's pushed back, so they say, oh, this is the new normal. And there are some thugs in them. Police try and weed out the thugs. So I think it's probably the most important job of police. It's like when you get into a car. Yeah, it's good to know the gas pedal, but probably learning the brake pedal is the single most important thing to know when you're learning how to drive a car, the brake pedal. So I would say you want great police, but even more than wanting great police is you don't want bad police. And I think the lockdown has shown us some of the bad police. My friends, there's a lot of things I want to cover. And before I do, let me just remind you of what happened to us on Monday night. YouTube demonetized our channel for no reason. I specifically asked if there was a video we did that broke any rules. I was told no. YouTube has a 3 strikes you're out policy. They call it a strike when you have a video that does something very bad. We have 0 strikes. In fact, I think the last strike we had was 2015. And it was a false copyright strike from Global News that we fought back against, and it was retracted. So I actually don't think we've ever had a strike. We had that one smear by Global that we rebuffed, and they were wicked liars. They were trying to undermine us, but they didn't get anywhere. So I think 15,000 videos, no strikes. It was just, I think YouTube is just engaging in political censorship. So the reason that affects you, you may be watching me on YouTube right now, is you can no longer give us a super chat, which is weird. Why would YouTube stop people? Like, even if we did something that upset advertisers, and I say again, we have not, why would you stop people from giving us a super chat? And so we've set up a workaround. If you go to streamlabs.com/rebelmediatv, and you can see that's the pinned chat in that little chat box there. That's a workaround. And if you're watching us on Rumble, how many people are watching us on Rumble, by the way? 40, okay. It's a fairly new system. Are we streaming on any other platforms? Okay, so just FYI, one of the things we're doing is we're uploading our videos to other platforms. Are we uploading to DLive, Twitch, Odyssey, or any other platform? I don't mean it for a live stream, I mean just in general. Are we putting our videos to those? Justin says that we are uploading to different places. We're still setting that up. I know that Odyssey, O-D-Y-S-E-E. Do you want to just show their screen? I had never heard of Odyssey until Tuesday, seriously. But, it's an interesting sort of crypto-based, slightly contrarian. Here we are uploading on Odyssey. So that's our channel. That's our page on Odyssey. And so we have uploaded, I think we're uploading, I don't know about our entire portfolio, but as you can see, Now there's not a lot of views on these, I would imagine. Go to the most recent one. We're just getting started here. Oh, so these were only uploaded a couple hours ago. Okay. So this is Odyssey. And going forward, and I know our team knows that you saw the YouTube warning on the front of that version there because we were literally ripping and posting. So we're going to make two versions of our videos now. That YouTube warning, yeah. So Odyssey is another web. It looks quite similar to YouTube, doesn't it? I think it was inspired, as they say. It's like coming to America. They have McDonald's and McDowell's. We're McDowell's. What else? Are we putting our stuff on? I know we were looking at D-Live is, got it. So Justin says we're still figuring out D-Live, and that's probably more a live streaming thing. Listen, we're a few days into it. I think we got a great start. We had a great meeting with Rumble. Yesterday, we had a meeting with some serious tech folks who are at the front lines of anti-deplatforming. And we're not just working on Plan B, we're working on Plan C. What do you think of them apples? I don't know if I told you that yet, Justin. Some people work on Plan A. Yeah, but as Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. Is that what he said? Is that what Mike Tyson said? He said it actually more eloquent than that. Everyone, Plan D. What did Mike Tyson say? I just want to quote it. I mean, Mike Tyson, he's a man of few words. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yeah. So that plan is called Plan A. And then you get punched in the mouth, you need, that's funny. You know, I mean, there's a military saying no plan survives contact with the enemy. I mean, yeah, you've got, or as they say in Yiddish, can I use a little Yiddish? Men tracht und Gott lacht. Can you guess what that means? Men plan and God laughs. You know? So you've got your schemes and God laughs. So we've got our plans, Plan A. And then you get punched in the mouth. So what's your Plan B? What's your Plan C? We're implementing Plan B right now. And we're plotting Plan C. And they ain't going to get rid of us so easily. So if you want to do a super chat workaround, click on the pinned chat there for Streamlabs. And if you're on Rumble, it's in the description. Now let me just, and so then these will be sent to me. Justin will send these to me and I'll read it. So it's a bit of a goofy workaround, but we're trying to keep the revenue stream alive because it's how we pay the bills. I mean, we're making around $400,000 a year on YouTube. That's a lot of change. That's a chunk of change. Like we're sending 7 people to Montreal. Those 7 salaries are probably $400,000. I don't know. I'm not adding it up in my brain, but that's a lot of salaries, right? So YouTube just kicked $400,000 out of us. DevNet donated $6. My wife doesn't like O'Toole because of his devilish look. I don't like him because he stands for nothing. He's got no chance. If I have to waste my vote, I'm wasting on Max. Well, that's the thing. If you think it's a waste to vote for Aaron O'Toole, why not just vote your conscience anyways? I don't think that Aaron O'Toole looks devilish, and I'm skeptical of giving into physiognomy. Physiognomy. Do you know what that word means, Justin? Physiognomy? It's sort of the, I'm going to call it a pseudoscience. There is some, I think there might be some truth to it, but I don't want to bank on it. I'm nervous about it. It's the idea that simply looking at someone, particularly their face, you can understand who they are. I think that, I mean, obviously we can't control what our face looks like, other than, I guess, if you're fat or thin, or if you shave, or if you take care of yourself. But the idea that you can judge someone's morality or their goodness or evil by their face, I don't want to believe in it, and I don't generally believe in it. Now that facial recognition is so ubiquitous, and we have mass databases of faces, you can correlate a certain look to anything else in the master database. What does a criminal look like? Well, if we have a photograph of 1 million criminals and we run that through some analysis, maybe there is a look that if you have it, you're more likely to be a criminal. That's physiognomy, if I'm saying it right. I don't want to give into that because I look like how I look. And not just that, but let's say someone looks like a criminal. Are you condemning them? You're saying they don't have the moral ability to improve themselves and choose to do the right thing? So I don't particularly think that Aaron O'Toole looks devilish. And even if he did, I would not judge him on that. Justin Trudeau is handsome-ish, other than that cocaine grin he had, with teeth clenched. I mean, I think that's actually a hideous look. But boomer women find Justin Trudeau attractive. Do you see the problem with physiognomy? Let's say he's objectively attractive, or at least more attractive than Aaron O'Toole. Don't vote for him because of that. I think Justin Trudeau is immoral, unethical, dumb, and wrong. I wouldn't want to vote based on physiognomy. Physiognomy? I don't even know how you say it. Hey folks, I want to tell you something very exciting. I got an apology yesterday. Normally I'm the one being asked to apologize for something. But I got an apology yesterday that actually meant something to me because it was from someone who harmed me, and I sued him. But that doesn't mean people apologize. Sometimes you're fighting with someone, you sue them, they dig in their heels, right? But I got an apology, actually got it a few days ago, and it's not groveling, it's not self-abnegating or self-deprecating. I think it's authentic. At least it reads that way. This is the apology. I, Mac and Brar, he goes by Mike, of Edmonton, Alberta, am the owner and operator of historic Princess Theatres. Rebel News had scheduled 2 book launch events for October 10th, 2019 at the Princess Theatre in Edmonton and October 15, 2019 at the Plaza Theatre in Calgary. I made the decision to cancel those events at the last minute due to pressure from my staff and because of the specter of large community protests. In particular, 2 employees, Michael Corliss and Jordan Thompson, told me that Rebel News was not welcome on White Avenue in Edmonton and that they had faced problems at other events. In fact, Rebel News had held events at my theaters in the past without incident, and I should not have canceled these events. Doing so caused financial damage to Rebel News and damage to Rebel News' reputation. I apologize to Rebel News and its owner, Ezra Levant, for canceling the events and for any damage suffered. You can see he signs it. Mac and Brar, he goes by the nickname Mike. What do you think? I mean, it's not groveling. It's not sucking up. It's not angry. It's just, I think he's just telling it. How does that read to you? Like, obviously that was lawyered and everything, but I think he meant it. I mean, look, he's a theater owner. He's not a political guy. I talked to Mike. Do you have those images of the events, those tweets I sent you from before? I love these 2 theaters. It's a very small theater company. It has sort of those artsy, independent theaters that don't usually run first-run movies. They have something a little weird or a little cult classic, and they're sort of fun, and they're not part of a chain, and they're usually old-timey a little bit, and they're maybe not the most modern, but they got character, and they're usually in a sort of a unusual neighborhood. Like, it's not your megaplex. They typically just have one-room theaters. You know what I'm talking about? I think every town has those. And I grew up in Calgary, and I knew the Plaza Theatre, and I liked it. It was sort of in a slightly hip part of town. And then when I went to Edmonton for law school, I got to know its sister theatre, the Princess, and I actually didn't realize they were owned by the same company, but they were. That's a great job, being the proprietor of the two sort of artsy theaters in the province, I think. And I would say I love those theaters because I know that I've been to them so much, especially when you're a student. You love those kind of theaters because they're often cheap or they often have some sort of slightly alternative event. You go there, you know. And it was on White Avenue, which, yeah. So scroll up a tiny bit there. So what's the date on this one? At the Climate Hustle, what's the date on that? So that's from 2016. At the Climate Hustle premiere by Rebel TV in Edmonton, filled both levels of the Princess Theatre. So you can see it's a little old-timey. It's just one big theater, and they got the upper level. That's what it was like in the olden days, you know? And so that was the Edmonton one, and you can, I don't know if you understood the meaning there. We had booked the theater for a premiere. We brought up our friend Mark Morano, who had like an environmental movie or whatever called Climate Hustle. And so that full house. Do you have the Calgary one also? I think I might have sent the Calgary one. So we did back-to-back movie launches. Yeah, completely sold out Rebel premiere for Climate Hustle at Calgary's Plaza Theatre. Can you click on that? The picture's not great, but you can see it. Click on the image itself. You can see, like, that's a cool theater, wouldn't you say? It's just old-timey. It's got the high ceilings, and that was packed. It's making me feel nostalgic for the before times when people would sit down next to strangers without masks, and, you know, people weren't freaky back then. But it was really fun. So as you can see, I have a commercial relationship with not only are they my favorite theaters, but I would do business with them. I would call them up and say, hey, can I rent the theater on any particular nights? You sell, like I paid for the theater, plus he keeps all the popcorn and snacks, so it's a win for him, you know? How many people are going to see a movie on a Wednesday night? Well, let me book the whole place, sell it out. I mean, it was, I enjoyed it. And his staff, they didn't care, you know? So come October 2019, and I got a new book, and it just happens to go to #1 on the bestseller list. And so I think, well, I know those two theaters are the perfect size. I know them. Let's have the book launch there. So you know what a book launch is. What I do is I just go and I like read a chapter or I give a little speech about the book. Then I take some questions, and then if people buy the book, I sign it. That's all it is. It really isn't much more than that. And it's great. I paid in advance. But then you read the letter from Mike Brar. His staff and the Twitter mob said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he canceled. So I lost the money. I was embarrassed. Yeah, that's me standing outside the theater. Those are all the people who bought tickets. We all bought tickets, and I'm showing in my hand there the contract I have and the receipt I have. So they locked the doors on us. I think that's the Edmonton one, which is the Princess. So look at all those people there. I was ready for a big book talk. So by the way, we just walked up the street to a pub. And they were happy to have the business, you know, bring in 200 people buying chicken fingers and beer to listen. So it was a shame that we were kicked out. Can you go to stopdeplatforming.com? So here's what I did, and here's how I got the apology. The apology is nice. Appreciate the apology from Mike Brar. I never was that mad. I mean, I was mad, but in an important way, I could understand what happened. So scroll down a bit. So I'm telling the story here, but there's a lawsuit. Yeah, can you click on that and open that up a bit? Now this has been amended. You can see we filed this like a month after everything happened, but just look here on the cover page for a second. In the Court of Queen's Bench in Edmonton, the plaintiff, Rebel News, and me, and then check out the defendant. Princess Theatres, Mike Brar, but then look at these other names. Nancy Lavelle, Crawford Johnson, Jim Story, Jessica Littlewood, Rich Kearney, Matt Walton, John Doe 1, John Doe 2, John Doe 3, John Doe 4, statement of claim, and then the lawyer and blah, blah, blah. And just scroll down a little bit, just a little bit. You were being sued, you're the defendant, statement of facts. I'm me. Mike Brar, the theater, and then we name the defendants, but we also don't know all their names, so we have John Doe and John Doe. Breach of contract, that's me saying, Mike, you can't rip up a contract. So I'm talking about me and Mike. Defamation, and then I go through the Twitter mob. Like Nancy Lavelle said this. So basically anyone on Twitter who smeared me or Rebel News, well, they probably felt pretty brave. You know, the template, a guy who wrote some smeared template, keep going down. Inducing breach of contract, that's the tort. That's the tort. A tort is French for wrong. There's a lot of French words in English law, British law, Canadian law. Goes far back in time. You'll learn a little bit of Latin, you'll learn a little bit of French when you go to law school. It's sort of fun in a way, like strange words like profit à prendre. And, you probably heard things like, habeas corpus. Have you ever heard that? That's Latin for you have the body. So you can't arrest someone unless you have, you killed someone. Where's the body? Where's the proof? So tort is a fancy way of saying a wrong. You've committed a wrong against me, and inducing a breach of contract is wrong. So we did something new. I don't think this has been done anywhere in North America. We sued Mike Brar for breach of contract. That's sort of simple. You pay a guy for a theater, he doesn't open it, that's a breach of contract. It's like if you pay a guy for a car and he doesn't give you the car, that's a breach of contract. That's pretty basic, breach of contract. And by the way, a contract, other than in land, you don't even need a written contract to have a contract. The benefit of a written contract is it's sort of proof of it and everyone remembers what the deal was. But a contract can be a handshake in many cases. In this case, it was written and the money was paid. So he breached the contract. But the innovation in this lawsuit, and you can see it for yourself on Stop Deplatforming, is inducing breach of contract. Nancy Lavelle, Crawford Johnson, Jim Story, Jessica Littlewood, Rich Cherney, Matt Walton, John Doe 1 and 2, and the staff, collectively the inducing defendants, knew of the contract. In or about October 2019, the inducing defendants contacted the princess by various methods, including phone, email, Twitter, and in person, and demanded that the princess terminate the contract. In many cases, these demands were accompanied by threats that if the princess did not terminate the contract, the inducing defendants, or one or more of them, would A, refuse to patronize the princess in the theater, B, share negative publicity about the princess, and C, in the case of the staff, refuse to work on the date of the book signing or quit their employment of the princess entirely. By their statements, representations, and threats, the inducing defendants induced and intended to induce the princess to breach and repudiate the contract. The inducing defendants acted without justification. Conspiracy, unlawful interference with economic relations, loss and damages, and so we list it. Various costs, $1,000 here, $2,000 there, we really particularize it. Aggravating factors. The actions of the inducing defendants were egregious, high-handed, and intended to cause harm. The Lovell publication, that's some professor, the template and the communications of the inducing defendants were unprovoked, politically motivated, were designed to suppress and silence the plaintiff's constitutionally guaranteed rights to freedom of expression. It's a book signing, people. Members of Canadian society must be able to hold and freely express views from a variety of ends of the political spectrum. That right should not be denied through interference. Blah, 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 remedy sought, damages. And anyhow, can I tell you, we got a lot of lawsuits around here. We fight for freedom every day in the court of public opinion and the court of law. But can I tell you, I think that lawsuit is an innovation. And you know what, Justin? I don't want to brag, but I came up with that idea myself. Now, we got a great law firm doing it, Reynolds, Mirth, Richardson, Farmer. Excellent lawyers. One of my favorite law firms, leading law firm in Edmonton. I'm very proud of my lawyers there, and we've become friends. But the idea of an inducement, we talked about this on last night's show. What do you think of that case from 1853 in London? In London, there's this area called Covent Gardens, if I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a wonderful neighborhood. when I would go over there to cover Tommy's trials, I would stay in that neighborhood because it was just like a mile away from the courthouse. So wonderful restaurants and theaters. It really is one of the best places in London. You know, whether you got a few dollars in your pocket or a lot of money, there's something for everyone to have fun in Covent Gardens, even if it's just people watching. A wonderful neighborhood. And I guess it's been that way actually for hundreds of years. Isn't that amazing? And there's these grand theaters there, like in a way it's sort of, yeah. So this is, what's the date on that? 1808. So that's obviously a painting, not a photograph. I don't even think there were cameras back then. That is a theater. And that, you know what, by the way, if you Google search those, there was a couple of rival theaters. And remember, this was before TV, before records. I don't think there were phonographs in 1808, were there? So Covent Garden Theater, that's the rival one. So they obviously they look similar. Why don't you just type in Google Images? I just want to show people. Because some of these theaters, like some have been rebuilt, but they're around now. Either one, the Covent Theater, or I think the one's called the Queen's Theater or something. So these are rival theaters, and every night they're trying to fill that big place with paying ticket goers, right? And this was in the old-timey days, 200 years ago, or 170 years ago to be precise. And apparently there was this amazing opera singer named Johanna Wagner. Here's a more current picture. Yeah, so that's what it looks like now, or at least, which one is that? That's at Covent Gardens. There's even some better pictures, but it doesn't matter. People get the point. These are beautiful theaters. So this opera singer, Johanna Wagner, apparently she was a big draw. Yeah, there's a painting of her, looking rather majestic. So apparently she was the hot ticket in London in 1853. So an impresario for one of these theaters says, well, we got to lock you in. Exclusive engagements only at our theater, 3-month, engagement. It's like if, Les Miserables came to town. It would be like if Les Mis came to town. For 3 months only, they would sell out a theater, right? Well, that rival theater contacted Johanna Wagner and said, what are you doing over there? Come sing for me. And she said, I can't. I signed a contract. It's an exclusive contract. And theater owner number 2 said, well, I'll give you a few extra bucks to break the contract. So she did. And she went over to sing for him. And the Court of King's Bench, I think it was the king back then. I can't remember. Maybe it was Queen Victoria. Yeah, it was. Court of Queen's Bench formalized the tort of inducing a breach of contract. They said, yeah, Lumley versus Guy. Those were the two impresarios, the dueling impresarios. It must now be considered clear law that a person who wrongfully and maliciously, or which is the same thing with notice, interrupts the relation subsisting between master and servant by procuring the servant to depart from the master's service, or by harboring and keeping him as servant after he is quitted, blah, 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 blah. That's illegal. That's a tort. Whereby the master is injured, you're committing a wrongful act for which he is responsible at law. So anyhow, that's I love these old cases, eh? I love, the language is slightly archaic. I mean, you can think, between now and then, there's 170 years. Take 170 years away from that, you're almost at Shakespeare times, So the language is going to be, and it's a legal ruling, so it's going to be a little fussy anyways. My point is, I knew about that law. And I thought, well, if you can induce someone to breach a contract, and it's illegal in the case of 2 dueling opera houses. Imagine that. Imagine a place where you've got dueling opera houses. Like that's a hell of a town. Well, they induced Mike Brar to breach a contract with me. And that's what our lawsuit says. Now, we haven't been to court yet. We settled with Mike Brar, as you can see, and I appreciate that. Look, my fight, you know what, I don't accept what he did, but I understand it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be that mad at a guy. I'm built for fighting. Every day, I'm in some fight. And maybe my stress level's too high, and maybe it's the wrong way to live, but it's all I've been doing for 30 years, so it's too late to change. Mike Brar's in the art house theater business. He's not in the fighting business. He's sort of in the opposite. He's in the show business. Everybody likes the guy because he's got the theater. You know, the talent likes him. The customers like him. The neighborhood likes him. Everybody likes a theater owner, I think. He'd never been bullied before. He told me on the phone he was having trouble sleeping at night. I believe him. Do you believe him? Why would he lie about that? If he wasn't having trouble, he would have resisted. So I can't be that mad. I mean, don't break a contract. Stand firm. Well, maybe easy for me to say. But anyways, he did breach the contract, and I'm mad at him. But that apology, I feel like it's, now obviously his lawyer helped draft it and whatever, but I think it was real. So we're going after the other. What do you think of that? I think there's a mindset that takes over when people are in a mob. Have you seen this, Justin, when there's like a riot and someone smashes into a store and people start to loot? Everyone runs into the store and grabs whatever. You see that? Like, okay, a TV or like electronics, maybe everyone could use electronics, but I've seen riots. In fact, in Vancouver, I think was it the Stanley Cup riots? Like 20 years ago, whatever, 10 years ago? There was this riot scene. I remember this young, up-and-coming student, college student, I forget her name, like just a good girl, you could tell, in school. She ran into some store because everyone else did. They smashed the windows, ran in. Everyone was grabbing stuff off the clothing racks and running out, and she did too. And she was identified and brought to trial, and she basically said, I have no idea what came over me. I was grabbing clothes that I didn't even want, that didn't even fit me. Like it was just a wilding. It was like Lord of the Flies, and it came over me. Now again, that's not an excuse. Yeah, that's exactly her. I remember her face. What's her name again? Camille Cacnio. I remember her. She's exactly the girl I was talking about. A Stanley Cup rioter made infamous by video footage showing that she looted a store during the melee last June has been sentenced to 2 years of probation and 150 hours of community service. Camille Cacnio of Richmond was charged with participating in a riot and break and enter. The 23-year-old University of British Columbia student turned herself into police and wrote an online apology soon after the riot on June 15, 2011, saying that she took a pair of men's dress pants from Black & Lee as a souvenir. She also lost her job due to the incident. Crown Counsel had asked for a sentence of 15 to 30 days in jail. Yeah, she just got probation at 150 hours. You know what? I'm generally really tough on crime. I don't think she needed 15 days in jail. I actually think, I mean, again, I don't want to give into physiognomy, you know, but look at that girl. Is that a bad girl? That's not a bad girl. She got caught up in the moment, and you heard her. She said she stole men's pants as a souvenir or something. I believe it. Now, that's not good, and I do not condone it, and I don't accept it. But I believe there is a psychological mass mania that kicks in a riot, and you think you're anonymous, and you get caught up, and everyone around you's doing it. And I'm not, God forbid. But I don't think that that is an innately criminal person. I actually believe her apology. I remember covering that story. Opportunistic, spur of the moment, emotional loss of control, feeling that you're anonymous and no one will see you. I think she probably to this day, 10 years later, thinks that's the worst mistake she made in her life. Don't you think? I mean, I don't know. For all I know, she's gone on through a life of crime, but I don't think so. I think that's a good girl who did something dumb. The folks who jumped into the Twitter mob against Rebel News and me and my book launch, I don't give them the send. They were not in. They were not surrounded. They bullied a guy to bully me. I think it's very different than, oh, I'm just going to take a pair of pants. Anyways, we'll see how it goes in court. Zed donated $5. Thank you for being the voice for the oppressed lockdown people. Well, we're fighting hard. You know, I had a conference call with our Toronto law firm today. 231 cases we have in Ontario. Did you know that? 231 cases in Ontario. I was shocked to hear it. EJ donated $5. Have you noticed that over the past couple of years, many post-media newspapers have dropped their daily editorials? No, because honestly, I don't pick up. I haven't picked up a print version of sometimes I think David Menzies brings the Toronto Sun in the office, but I have not held a paper copy of a Canadian newspaper other than the Epoch Times in 5 or 10 years. So I haven't noticed. Frankly, does anyone even read those unsigned editorials? People read some columnists. I saw an unsigned editorial online today in the National Post saying, conservatives, we must support Aaron O'Toole. Who wrote this crap? I'm just some anonymous, was this, you know, this is your bailout newspaper, National Post, taking $140,000 a week from Trudeau, and I'm supposed to be obedient to an unsigned editorial whose argument is only, come on, guys. Embarrassing. Bing, Bing, Bing donated $15. I'm confused by Rebel and all Canadians at the moment. You guys can't stop talking about O'Toole, and Chris Sky can't seem to stop pushing Rob Carbone. Our two largest voices in Canada are completely ignoring Maxime and the PPC. Why? I'm not ignoring Maxime and the PPC. But you must also acknowledge reality that he does not have a seat in the House of Commons. And that when he contested a by-election in North Toronto a few months ago, he got single digits. And listen, I like him, I wish him well, but it's just, it is not happening. Could it potentially in the future happen? Sure. We had Derek Sloan on the show the other day. He is a member of Parliament. He ran for the leadership. He was kicked out by Aaron O'Toole. There was grounds, a news peg, as we say, to interview him. Namely, he was organizing the Conservative Party Policy Convention. So you have to have a news peg to interview someone in the news business. And simply, hey, it's time to talk to this guy again, isn't it? If you're a newsmaker, look at the words. You're making news. What did you do? Did you do or say, I mean, just a guy having interesting tweets online, that's a pundit. I'm a pundit. Now, we do some activism here too. But I'm frustrated by the lack of conservative political leaders in this country. But being the leader of a party that has no seats and that is in single digits in the polls, as much as I like Maxime Bernier, he is not yet successful. I hope he will be, but if he does something newsworthy, we'll cover it. But I believe, and I like the guy, but I believe mainly he's like a pundit. And it'd be interesting to see what happens to Derek Sloan, since he won't be allowed to run again in this upcoming election as a Conservative MP. So if he runs as an independent, the likelihood of him winning is low. Independents almost never win in Canada. You could probably count them on one hand's fingers for the last 20 years. John Nunziata, a famous case. Really, not many more. Often when someone gets kicked out of a party, it's almost over for them. Andre Arthur was an important exception in Quebec. I don't know what's going to happen to Derek Sloan if he doesn't win again. Will he start up some think tank or something? I wouldn't be surprised if he does. No Canada Reset, $2.50. Aaron O'Toole stated the debate on climate change is over. I think that seals the CPC's fate this election cycle. I won't vote for any party that doesn't allow honest debate, and I encourage others not to also. If Aaron O'Toole saying the debate over climate change is over were enough for him to win the prime ministership, I would say I understand the bargain. I understand the give and take, the compromise, put water in your wine. It's better to have a pretty good Conservative Party winning than a perfectly pure Conservative Party losing. I get it. But that ain't going to do it. That ain't going to make him win. it's demoralizing the party base, but there is no balancing boost in the party's fortunes amongst blue liberals, let's say. If losing 10% of the vote in the West meant getting 10% more in the East, I get the math. It ain't happening. Keith Baxter donated 1984. Ezra, you and the rest of the rebels are Canada's greatest export. It feels great to donate to you with YouTube without YouTube taking a cut. Well, thanks very much. And we are trying to work around YouTube's demonetization of us. So bear with us as we figure a few things out. Vinicio donated $10. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Fraser McBurney, $15. Talking law. You mentioned that interrupting a church service is against the law. At Grace Church, several police entered the church during the service. Should Grace Church sue the police? I say yes. You're talking about the one in Calgary. I believe that the police and Alberta Health violated the criminal code. I think it's section 176.2. Can you call that up? I'm going from memory. There's a lot of sections in the criminal code, but there is a particular against interrupting or disturbing an assemblage of persons gathered for a social, moral, or religious reason. Let's see if my memory of the wording is accurate. It's just, I would type in criminal code 176. So there's a few things there. First of all, disturb or interrupt. I'm going from memory. Yeah, they're doing that. Disturbing religious worship or certain meetings. Everyone who willfully disturbs or interrupts an assemblage of persons met for religious worship or for a moral, social, or benevolent purpose is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. I got the key words there, didn't I? I'm not having a Joe Biden moment today. That says you can't interrupt if people are gathered together, an assemblage of persons, to do something good, pray together, do another moral, benevolent, social purpose. You can't interrupt them. You can't do that. And the cops interrupted them again and again and again. But I am not their lawyer, am I? I think they should be charged with a private prosecution or a civil suit. I think sometimes Christians, God bless them, turn the other cheek. That's the whole Christian thing, I think. You know, I'm not an expert in the books, but the Old Testament, a little bit more of the fire and brimstone. New Testament, a little bit more of the turn the other cheek. I think, right? Is one of the many differences. I think the central difference is the nature of Jesus. Was he a prophet and a good guy, which I think some Jews would say, or was he actually the Messiah? What was his nature? Of course, he was condemned as a blasphemer by the Jews of the era. That's your essential difference between Jews and Christians. I think sometimes Christians are too forgiving, gentle, turn the other cheek, you know. Like you've got cops and health services bullies coming on your property without a search warrant, and you let them in to gather evidence against your people, and you say thank you. I mean, listen, I love the milk of human kindness as much as the next guy, but treating bad guys like good guys, I don't know. What would Jesus say? I don't know what he would say. Sometimes he said, I'm the hammer. Am I right? He flipped over the benches of the money table. So sometimes he got a little forceful. I do not think that a church should say, yes, outrageous and overweening policeman with a gun, come into my church and take photos of my church members that you'll later use to prosecute us. Yes, Alberta Health Services with a backpack full of cell phone reading tech, so you'll get the ID of everyone in here. Come onto my property and ID everyone in our church for later prosecution. I'm sorry, I don't think that's Christian to let them in. I think that's stupid. I like the approach by the Grace Life Church in Edmonton, which says, as Jay-Z would say, a glove compartment's locked, so's the trunk in the back. You're going to need a warrant for that. Aren't you sharp as a tack? You some sort of lawyer or something? Somebody important or something? I'm rapping. I was just saying to Justin earlier today, fat middle-aged white guys should never rap because you never look cool. You come across as some sort of loser, beat poet. It just never looks cool. But I would say to that Baptist church in Calgary, listen to 99 Problems from Jay-Z. Listen to how he handles the cops. He says, sir. No need to be personally rude. But you don't need to over-comply. You carrying a weapon on you? I know a lot of you are. Yeah, my glove compartment's locked and so's the trunk in the back. I'm so mad at what the cops are doing to the churches. I'm not going to rap. Sorry I did. I just love that song. Let's catch up here. NSBB 134 donated $15. Have you ever thought about doing like NTD News? They went on cable TV in USA. Now, do you mean NTD TV? Because that stands for New Tang Dynasty. They're affiliated with the Epoch Times. We like them. I know their boss up here in Canada, Joe Wong. I got to know him when I was at Sun News. I haven't seen Joe in a while, but he's a good egg. They have a huge operation. Like their studios are very large. I visited them. They're a bit down the highway. So my answer is they're a much bigger operation than us. They're probably 10 times bigger than us. And when I was over there, they were working on a huge video game, actually. I don't know if that's out yet. All right, you know what? I have here the list that Justin puts together of interesting things. We spent so much time talking about the stopdeplatforming.com. We talked about after YouTube a little bit. I got a lot of notes here about Joe Biden's press conference yesterday. That was sort of fun. And those are great. Those are easy. But I want to know, how is our documentary about Yankee in Montreal? Is that, we're premiering that? Okay, let's do this. So we're going to, have we started the premiering function yet? So, as I mentioned about 45 minutes ago, I saw the fourth edit, so the next to final edit, of a masterpiece. I called it the Montreal Masterpiece. Because we had 5 people in Montreal last weekend. Yankee and 4 visitors. Now we got, yeah, you know what I'd like to do? Let's play the cold open, because that'll get people in the spirit. The cold open is what we call the first part of the video that just sort of, bam, jumps right into it. Sort of shows you, gets you excited, and then we sort of pull back and do the slower, more methodical open. So, in my opinion, the cold open gets your attention. It's like the sexiest headline kind of thing. So I'm going to show you the cold open of our Montreal Masterpiece that is premiering right after this, I suppose. It is a beautiful, 1:15. It is a beautiful documentary. Let me give you a little sample, but you got to come back for the rest yourself. Take a look.
Unlike the rest of Canada, the streets of Montreal are filled with people. While commerce has been hit by heavy government regulations allegedly to curb the spread of COVID-19, going to a park for a beer with friends is still allowed, alongside with other privileges, except the right to protest.
Also
no matter how social the people of Montreal are. They can't be out once the sun sets. Under the threat of extortion via fines, people of Montreal abide by the curfew. Except some.
Can we ask you what happened over here?
Yankee Polak, 25 years old rebel news reporter.
No? Well, I'm gonna ask you.
What are you doing?
I'm media. I see you guys putting someone in the back of the car. In the last year, we have seen arbitrary rules that make no sense. Government's doing whatever they want in Quebec and Ontario, Canada, and the States, and all over the world. What is your badge number?
Back up.
What is your badge number? They keep saying trust the signs. There's no signs behind the curfew. There is none. Are you proud of the job you're doing, you're ticketing members of the media? Is that like what you signed up for the police for? They are in control. They're the top gang in the city, and they can do whatever they want. And then they leave because they show their force, and then a few days later or weeks later they come back and do it again.
There's a big threat going on in the area, or terrorist attack?
And it's always, well, we have to protect people, it's this, it's that, and no, it's just you want power.
That's what we call the cold open. I watched the whole video last night, very exciting. There's one thing on there that stands out when we introduced Yankee Pollock. Of course, he's been with us for a while. He's based in Montreal. We had that little dossier on him, and it said marital status, single. Let me say one thing. After this video goes viral, I don't know if he's going to be single much longer. Ladies, now's the time. Yankee will not be on the market for long. I'm joking around. Yankee comes across wonderfully in it. And in fact, the last 10 seconds of the video made my day, of the whole document. It's a great, I haven't seen the final cut, so maybe it's slightly different. I just want to quote Shakespeare, if I may, and I do that too long. There's a Shakespeare play called As You Like It. And one of the things Shakespeare talks a lot about is love and romance and dating and marriage. And I forget who said this, but this is advice for a single person. Sell when you can. You are not for all markets. That's a backhanded, I don't know what that is, I'll just let it stand. But Yankee, I tell you, the market for Yankee, it's going to be white hot after this video. A star is born, let me say that. A star is born. And I'm not even joking. The last 10 seconds of the video shows you Yankee has fans. And it's not just because of his style. It's because he's the only guy fighting out there. One of the things you'll find about this documentary, and you've got to watch it, and we're going to debut it in 15 minutes, so I'll get out of the way. One of the questions that comes up is, where's the rest of the media? Yankee's out there every night documenting life under the curfew. Where's the CBC, CTV, Global? Where's La Presse, Journal de Montréal? Where's Radio Canada? Where's the rest of them? He's the only one out there. How can that be? Well, how can it be that an entire province obediently submits to a curfew? So of course the journalists are the most passive and subordinate and obedient, aren't they? Let me finish up with the super chats I want to get out of the way because I want you to watch this documentary. Mary donated $15. Did you watch Press for Truth, Slam Rebel News? I did, Mary. And I wrote to Dan, and I said, Dan, what are you doing? If you're going to take a run at Rebel News, why don't you at least call us for the other side of the story? And I sent him a link, because for those who missed it, a YouTuber in Vancouver went to one of our Fight the Fines clients who said, where's my money? No, we don't give you money. We give you a lawyer. We actually hired a criminal lawyer for her. We got the charges dropped against her. It was a huge victory. Drea did a victory video. The client said, "Thank you, Rebel News, you're amazing." And I don't know, a few weeks later, she goes to this other YouTuber and says, "Where's all my cash?" No. The lawyer, it's called fight the fines, not give cash to some grifter. Anyways, I think Dan felt bad about it. I wrote to him and I tweeted to him, and he got a real audience attitude adjustment from all his commenters who said, "What are you talking about? It's called fight the fines, not just give people money." It was really gross, but you know what? We have more than 600 clients, and 599 of them are thrilled with us. Actually, this last person is too. She just thought she'd get some free money. It was really weird. We're not giving money to the Fight the Fines clients. We're taking the money, hiring lawyers, and funding, and we're not paying the fines. We make that crystal clear. We have a one-page plain language a contract for all our clients. It says, we will not pay your fines. We will fight your fines. It's a very important difference, isn't it? By the way, it's usually more expensive to fight the fines than to just pay them. But it's the right thing to do. That's why we're doing it. I'm not going to crowdfund just to put money in someone's jeans. It's so weird. Johnny T donated $6. Any action we can take against those SS Mounted Police in Dawson Creek that unlawfully arrested Kevin J. Johnson? This kind of power tripping from our officers is unacceptable. I'm unfamiliar with it. And by SS Mounted Police, if you're equating to, if you mean like the Nazi SS, I am loath to accept that aspersion without more factual basis. Kevin J. Johnston is an interesting character. I believe everyone ought to have freedom of speech. I think that sometimes he goes off half-cocked, and I think sometimes he undermines his own cause. I interviewed him once when he was charged with some hate speech thing, and it was an interesting enough interview. You can find it on our YouTube page. But what stayed with me is how he said he was so excited and glad to be prosecuted. I think it was under the criminal code. And I thought, if you're happy that you're being prosecuted for hate speech, you've never been through it before. I don't know, I just found, I support his freedom of speech and his right to express himself, but I do believe he undoes himself. And so I'm very skeptical about what you're saying, Johnny T. I'm just skeptical. I don't know the facts, but I would certainly hesitate before agreeing with you because I would want to know more. Herman Nielsen, how you doing? $6, thank you. Pimping for love, Ezra, never thought it. Well, you know what? I think Yankee's not going to be on the market for long. I just put it that way. Look at that guy, 25 years old, fighting for his community, fighting for freedom. And as our chief videographer, Mocha, put it, marital status, single. I look forward to that being updated. Anonymous donated $15, thank you. Floyd donated $5. Ezra, keep sandblasting the red thieves. It can't last forever. Well, we'll keep at it. All right, it's 1:03. Have I caught up on all the Super Chats, really? Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And we got a lot cooking. I just wanted to show you that apology from Mike Brar. I really appreciated it, and it feels great to have that win and then to go after the inducers of breach of contract feels great. You got to watch this video. We're rolling out in 10 minutes. And other than that, I'm going to skedaddle. I got a lot of stuff I got to do. So thanks for watching. I'll be on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for my show that we call Rebel News Plus. It's $8 a month to get those TV-style shows. I do it every night. Sheila Gunn-Reid, David Menzies, and Andrew Chapados do it once a week. And, of course, it's $8 a month, so that comes straight to us. And we use that to pay the bills around here. So consider subscribing. Just go to rebelnews.com, click subscribe. $8 a month or $80 for the whole year. Pretty good deal compared to Netflix. And we get all of that. No cut goes to YouTube. So, yeah, it's not even processed through YouTube. All right, everybody, great to see you. Do we have a dog video at the end of the day? Yes, we do. I'll say bye now, and here is a dog video curated by Justin.